welcome everyone to day 3, time of hope at home with the Hubbards. It's good to see all of you today. And so you can notice the puzzle is finished.
Yep, the puzzle's done, and we didn't even have to use the scissors to snip off the pieces to make them work, like Anne Margaret did in the movie I talked about yesterday, The Cincinnati Kid. She was trying to take a shortcut. And sometimes shortcuts work. Sometimes shortcuts can help us find new things.
They help us on the computer.
They help us on the computer, that's true. But sometimes shortcuts can short circuit what we're trying to do and even deaden our lives. There's a story from back, in the 1850 or so, about a wagon train moving west. They started out in Illinois, and by the time they reached St. Louis, they say that the wagon train was like 2 miles long. Among the people in the wagon train was the Donner Party, and everything went well as they headed west until they got to Fort Bridger, Wyoming. It was then that the Donner Party decided to split off from the major wagon train because they had heard about a shortcut that could cut 300 miles off the trek. And when you're going by wagon train, 300 miles can be a lot. One of the people in the party had talked to somebody that had just come from California, and this man told his buddy from California about this shortcut, and the guy said, "Don't do it. You can't take wagons that way. Take the safe route." But the Donner Party decided to take the shortcut. Now, some of you know how well that worked. By the time they went through the shortcut, it had taken a lot longer than they had hoped. And by the time they got back on the main trail, they were days behind, and winter was approaching. And so what happened is they went through the Sierra Nevada mountains. They were trapped by snow, and they resorted to some very tragic.
And we won't talk about that here.
Yeah, some of you, if you know the story about the Donner Party, you know that it was not a nice. Some of the people survived,
and some didn't.
And some didn't. So the whole idea is that sometimes we're tempted to take shortcuts. Right now we're facing a real challenge, a challenge that is challenging us to change our ways, the ways that we've become comfortable with, at least for a little while. Now, I know that there are some people, and I hope none of you are, there's some people that are searching for shortcuts, for loopholes, for ways to get what they want. And in the process, they're endangering all of us. We get some guidance from the Bible in Matthew chapter 7 about taking shortcuts.
Hear these words from Matthew 7, verses 13 and 14. This is from the Message translation, or the Message Bible. Don't look for shortcuts to God. The market is flooded with surefire, easygoing formulas for a successful life that can be practiced in your spare time. Don't fall for that stuff, even though crowds of people do. The way to life, to God, is vigorous and requires total attention.
Now, this passage talks specifically about shortcuts to God, but I think it applies to taking shortcuts in what we are facing today.
Shortcuts like gathering with our friends when we know that's a way to spread disease.
That's so much what I want to do, and it won't hurt if there's just a couple of us.
That's not what we're understanding.
Yeah. Things have changed. There's no denying that. Things have changed in a very dramatic way. And our worship services that we are putting together reflect that change. We did and have recorded some pieces that we will use the next week or so, but more and more the parts of our worship service will look, at least in the foreseeable future, will look like we've recorded them in our homes.
Because we have.
Because that's what we're doing, yes. Our mandate from our bishop, Bishop Bob, has specifically said that nothing can happen in our church buildings, no matter how small a gathering. And so we have to stay put and do the best we can.
I will mention we do have a special consideration because of the state of Nevada. Our child development center is an essential gathering, a service that we provide for the community, and so we will stay open for that and for that only.
Yeah. So in the meantime, we have to do the best we can and not try to take shortcuts. Do the best we can to be safe and learning to draw close to God and each other in new ways. We are exploring some of those new ways through technology, and even recording some of the pieces for our services are through technology. But we have been provided these new ways, and sometimes we have to sacrifice a little bit about what we want. I won't go into the people that are taking shortcuts by hoarding toilet paper and all of those things. We can't take shortcuts. We have to trust God and trust each other to stay safe and to help in every way that we can. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, if you do need help, please reach out and let us
Yes.
know. There are ways. There are some folks that we have around that are willing to go out and do things for others. And so if you find yourself in need of something, please let the church office know, and we'd be glad to try to make things happen for you.
Right now, our connections with each other, our connections to everything, are very tenuous. They've been broken in many cases. We've been told not to honor those connections. But right now, we are in the process of making a new picture of who we are and what we do, who we are in the presence of God. The new picture that we're making will be different, slightly different. But if we trust God and trust each other, the new picture will be beautiful.
It will be. So stay safe. God bless. We'll see you again tomorrow.